What's up, golf friends? This is Jim Colton, and this is the Driven Golf Podcast. I'm here with my two partners in crime. We've got Andrew Lewis. What's going on, Andrew?
Hey, Jim. Hey, Joseph. What's going on?
What's going on, guys?
The super producer, Joseph K. We're getting together. This is episode 21. We are starting season 3 of our Angle of Attack, and we have a special guest. Andrew, you interviewed Matthias Tayala, an interesting social media golf instructor. You want to give us a little bit of background on him?
Yeah, so this guy, when I started my YouTube channel, he reached out to me and said that he was intrigued with what I was doing. He's not a golf coach. He basically makes like basic golf content, and he has like 135,000 followers. So I was kind of intrigued because I'm trying to grow my social media presence. And then kind of going through his videos, you know, he's doing kind of like these basic ideas. So he gave me some ideas for some content. But he's also like he's kind of like perfect for what we've been talking about. He's this guy who can barely break 80. So he was kind of interested in me that maybe I could help him a little bit. So we're trying to develop a little bit of a relationship to kind of help each other out in different ways. So yeah, we just did the pod with him and it was good. He definitely has like a unique perspective as he's not really like in the golf world quite like I am or quite like you guys are. So yeah, it was a good conversation.
Yeah, so his Instagram is Golf Pro Wannabes. And like you said, he's got like over 130,000 followers. He has a pretty interesting book that he's recently published, right? It's called the Golf Challenge Book, which looked really interesting to me. Like I love in this development, like the gamification aspect. It seemed like there were different challenges every day and you kind of worked through the book and little like scratch off things. So did you guys get into that?
Yeah, we did. He actually was kind of like holding it up to the screen to show me. But yeah, he kept saying like, I can't coach anybody. And I was like, it sounds like based on your book, you could coach somebody, because they were all tasks that would probably be good for self-coaching. Like they're going to reveal a lot of things. And they're very, very different in nature. Like he had worst ball scramble, which we've talked about, playing from the forward tees. So yeah, I think the book has a lot of value. He's going to send me one. I'm going to check it out for sure. And it honestly sounded like a lot of things like I do in group training, where you're trying to create like a competitive environment or like a stressful environment. So yeah, I think he could maybe coach a little bit.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. So I look forward to getting into that. So we're going to mix it up a little bit this episode. Typically after we do the compilation of the Angle Attack, we have an Angle Attack episode dedicated, sort of what we call like a reflections episode. So just sort of follow-up questions, odds and ends from the last season, having listened to it a couple of times now. But I wanted to start there, and then we can get into the interview with Matthias after that. So, Joseph, any sort of takeaways you had from listening to those Angle of Attack episodes back to back?
Yeah, as someone that's trying to implement some of these tips and tricks into my game.
Tricks.
I had
it. It's all smoke and mirrors, man.
I'm looking for anything, Andrew. My game needs a lot of help. So, as someone that's trying to adopt more of a technical aptitude to like something that you brought up with aim point, been playing and caddying on some big greens lately, and just wanted to get your thoughts on when you have like a really long lag putt, let's say like 40 or 50 feet or longer, how do you go about kind of implementing aim point when it's such a long putt? I mean, it could be more than a 4 or a 5 or 6 or however many fingers you're going to have to add to it. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So usually when you have a putt of like 40 or 50 feet, you are most likely not going to have like a planar putt, meaning that it's the same type of break, like same direction, not even like same slope percentage. It will almost always be double breaking. So when a putt is double breaking, they tend to net itself out. So in that case, I would be looking at in the double breaking setting, like which part of the putt is longer, and likely the part of the putt that is longer, or where the ball is like rolling longer, that's probably going to take over more than like the other part. The other thing I would do is whenever you're doing aim point, you're using your feet and like you're standing there and you're trying to feel the slope. When I have a long putt, I do more of a walking read where I just literally walk the line and I try to get the sense of like how my body is moving. It may sound kind of weird, but I try to picture like I'm a little white golf ball, like walking on the green, rolling on the green. And I think that gives me a really good idea of like what the ball is going to do. Because again, it's not going to just be like 3% the whole time. If it were that, let's say that it's straight, right to left the whole time. I would almost always play let's say you were convinced it was like 3% at a point. I would almost always just play like 3% then, because on putts like that, the likelihood of you missing low is high. And if you miss low on a putt like that, it's probably going to move like very, very, very low. So if you have a 40 or 50 footer, if you can hit that putt inside of 4 or 5 feet, that would be good. That would be 10%. So like that should be good enough. But yeah, that's kind of how I go about those, but they're almost always double breakers. So in most cases, you're probably hitting it fairly close to straight because it nets itself out.
Yeah, we talked about the cone, right? So you're talking about like being on the high side of the cone on a long putt like that. And I think visualizing it dying towards the hole, like what you want that putt looking like as it's approaching the hole.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I've thought about, I know you've done gate drills, Andrew. When I think for longer putts, I sort of visualize the gate that I want the ball to approach the hole towards. And I think a lot of times that forces me to make sure I get the ball high enough to kind of reach that gate. And I've had success doing it that way.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I was even thinking about, not that this is a long putt, but like if you look at Rory's putt that he missed on 18, like that thing missed.
Oh boy.
That thing missed probably like by an inch to the right of the hole. So in theory, he could have played that like 4 or 5 inches higher at the speed that he did. If like he was thinking about, he doesn't even want that to go in the center. So I do think there's a lot of value, like even on short putts, of like picturing like the quote unquote the gate or like the entry point of the hole. Like Rory would have wanted that putt to go in at like 8 o'clock. The thing was like, maybe it was going to go in at 3 o'clock. I mean, it was such a bad read. I mean, I know it was a hard read, but it was such a bad read. He hit a good putt. And I already talked about it. I just wanted to get that in there. It's so bad.
It's still too
That's
painful.
Jim's guy.
It's still too painful.
Yeah. We won't get into the line. We won't get into that.
Yeah. Let's move to brighter, more fun topics. In addition to listening to the last Angle Attack, I actually went back and started listening to our very first episode, which seems like eons ago. But that was really where we talked about introducing juniors into the game. And one of the things we really stressed around was just keeping it fun. And, I think listening to the different segments of whittling the scorers down, the grind can maybe start to seem like a chore because there's a lot of things that you need to attack. And then you tackle that obstacle. Now you go, you need to go solve this next thing. And in some ways, if you just listen to it, it might start to seem like the grind is a little bit monotonous. And we definitely don't want to get into that rut. So I wanted to talk about like how we make the grind like not feel like a grind and keep it fun, because we like a love of the game. We need to foster and protect that love of the game while these juniors are continuing to develop, and the stakes get higher and higher. The competition gets tougher and tougher. The pressure or the stress around it might elevate as they continue to go through the game. But how do we make sure that we're keeping it fun? And I imagine you want to make sure that you're doing that either in these group lessons that you mentioned, and then, just also in your one-on-one coaching.
Yeah, there definitely are some mundane things that like have to happen. Like it is hard to make start line control putting fun. Maybe you could listen to music or see how many in a row you could get. But in general, I would say to make it fun, I mean, listen, people play golf because they like to play golf. And so I would be trying to make my practice as much like golf. And that's probably going to be a lot more fun, doing things that have scores associated with them, or proximity tests, or like how many out of 10 could I hit in the fairway. That also, I think when people think like of the grind, they think of time. Like this is too much time. Like I'm spending 45 minutes working on this putting drill, like I'm beating my head against a wall. If you have these parameters of like success, then you kind of know like when you can move on, which is also going to like make it less of a grind. Not necessarily totally about fun, but like the beating yourself up kind of goes away when you're like, hey, I got 8 out of 10 on this driving test. Like I'm going to move on to a different skill, which I think will kind of like almost bring more joy or enjoyment versus like hitting balls for 1,000 balls. Like that sounds terrible to me, hitting 1,000 balls in the driving range. Like the VJ Singh model does not sound fun for the average person in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking about it as you were talking a little bit about, I was thinking about the Cootie twins, for example. Like when you have how many like very high level, the Fords, North Carolina,
right,
you know, twin brothers or brothers very close in age, or a younger sibling who's had somebody go on to have success. Just having, you can do all of these drills, but you can also make them competitive. I think you're probably drawing that out in some of the group lessons. But if you have basically an inherent competitive partner, I was thinking about the worst ball scramble. That's a great lag putting drill, and it's great to play against somebody around a putting green, for 30, 40 foot, 50 foot putts, worst ball, 2-ball scramble match play. And I think just having somebody who's at a relatively equal, playing ability, somebody to compete against, that keeps it fun and interesting. It's not so mundane.
It's funny that you bring up the competitiveness, because I swear, I most of my lessons always meet me on the putting green. And so and some of them will get there early. Like if Luke has a lesson, he's always there early. And inevitably there'll be another person there. It takes maybe like 2 seconds, and then they're like doing a contest in most cases. They're doing a short game contest, doing a putting contest. And so I think people again, it goes back to golf. Like you just like to be competitive. Being competitive is fun. That's why these guys like it. So yeah, getting out there and playing some games against people, it doesn't have to be on the golf course. Like that's a lot more fun. But you also need to get your mundane stuff done too, so that you can actually perform well, like when it's time to do that. So it probably needs to be a mix of both, especially for like highly competitive guys.
I think the other thing, in addition to like the competition starting right away around the putting green, I've seen this with Luke and Cameron, is them just like starting to try crazy shots.
Yeah.
And I think that is another element that can really bring enjoyment in the game. And we need to keep encouraging that. And I was thinking about this because I've really had to sort of check myself. Like when I coached baseball, I used to have this mantra. It was practice how you play. So I didn't really have much patience for the kids just kind of screwing around, or like trying to take an extra base when they would never do that in a game like that. That would really irk me. But I think in golf, it's a little bit different. And I had to sort of embrace this aspect of it, which is when it comes to practice or just being on the course in a non-competitive round, I think it should be perfectly okay to try some crazy shot that you would never try in a tournament. Like it keeps it fun. It keeps it interesting. It kind of shows you what you're capable of, right? And so when you're able to make those calculated decisions when you're actually in a tournament, and I think it can instill this confidence that you're going to need when you're under the gun. And I think I see that a lot around these, like when I mentioned these chipping shots, like trying crazy flop shots, like you might find yourself in a situation where you need that. And I think again, it's worrying about the love of the game and the enjoyment of the game first and foremost, and just letting everything sort of spill over from there.
So you're saying the other day when I saw this kid hit 100 chip shots with his dad right by the hole was not fun? Is that what you're saying? If you're that parent, I can promise you that's doing nothing except making your kid not like playing golf. Yeah. So let them hit the flop shot over the fence or through the fence. I mean, it's such a waste of time.
Jim, my mind immediately goes to what Johnson Wagner's doing in his like post round, like,
oh yeah, it's fantastic.
I'm gonna go try to hit that shot, the hardest shot of the day, and he's making he's getting a ton of views out of it, and
he's having a blast.
And it's like must see content now, so it's great to see that kind of stuff. And like the Bryson bunker shot, I don't know if you saw that at the U.S. Open that he did. There's probably going to be a plaque there or something like that here in a couple of years. But yeah, you got to make it fun like that.
Yeah, boys, what I've seen is that girls definitely like have a much more structured practice. Just probably just because of how they're wired a little bit more. And then boys, it really is hard to get them to like focus and be structured. It's so easy, especially when they get around each other. It just turns into like this like crazy show. I mean, it really is a show. So I'd say girls in a lot of ways, especially with their dads, a lot of them are always there. Like they need more of that from my experience. And the boys, they have plenty of that in a lot of cases. They probably need a little bit more structure at times, but yeah, that even happens. Like I saw like a video with like Jordan and JT doing like a short game contest on like Titleist. Like it's always going to be. I mean, it goes back to like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, like what is that, like Coke videos, and they're like shooting in the gym off the. I mean, it's just that's just fun. It should always be creative and fun in the environment like that.
Wow, you just showed your age there.
Well, I also referenced Vijay Singh, so. Kids are like, who's that?
Yeah, who's Larry Bird?
Yeah.
Hopefully they've heard of Michael Jordan.
I think so.
Otherwise, they should stop listening and look him up on YouTube.
That's right.
Hey, Joseph, and this reminded me, and I would actually take what I just said one step further, that I would say at this level in junior tournaments, I think it's actually okay for them to try some probably quote unquote stupid shot in a tournament under the gun. And then learn from that mistake. And I think it's part of the growth, it's part of the development. And you probably saw this if you were caddying the Texas AM. There were probably times where you're like, I'm not so sure. Like, do I talk him out of it? Do I steer him a different direction, or do I just let this play out and see what happens? Did you find yourself in that situation?
I definitely did. There's one shot in particular that comes to mind on number 11. There's kind of a long par 3 at Trinity Forest, and Luke kind of found himself short-sighted. Penn was in the middle of the green, had a little bit of green to work with, was able to fly it there most of the time. This was a shot that he was just going full flop mode, and I saw the rehearsal, and I saw some of the people in the crowd kind of start to be like, oh my gosh, is he about to hit this shot? And, I'm never going to take that away from him. If he wants to have fun and hit that shot in competition, I mean, then go for it. Like, there's no better chance to show off your skills than in competition when it matters most and when you've got the most pressure. And it also helps when you've got a world-class short game too. So
did he hit it close?
No. I'd give him like a 6 out of 10. It was decent. It may have rolled out a little bit further than he wanted to, but it was fun to watch. I mean, if you ask him again if he'd hit it, he'd probably say yes.
He's got the guts to do it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, do we need to have the post-tournament parent berating the kid for the choice that he made? And like, why did you do that? That was the absolute worst choice in the moment. Or just allow him to do that. If he does it 5 times and it doesn't work out 5 times out of 5, then he may pick something else. If it ended up costing him a tournament down the stretch because it let him come to that realization. I did want to pivot a little bit because I wanted to talk about winning. So like we're lowering these scores over time, and kids are getting more and more competitive. Hopefully they follow the tips and stuff that we talked about in these angle of attack episodes. But there's also this hurdle around getting over the hump and having it lead to victory. And I had a friend just ask me a very innocent question because my son had like a series of second places, a series of near misses, a series of just getting beat because some guy came out of nowhere and shot a crazy score. Shout out Charles Nelson.
Twice.
And he asked his questions like, what's different? Like, why is he all of a sudden winning? And I didn't really have a great answer, but the more I thought about it, I just thought like, he's just better. He's just better now because he's worked on his skills such that like winning is now more in the equation more often than it was before. And he's still going to finish second a lot. I was thinking about Jack Nicklaus, who, he has what, 14 or
18.
How many majors? 18 majors, but he's got 19 second places in majors as well. Like he's just there a lot. And I think your skill level gives you like a ticket to the dance. And then the rest is just like golf and the vagaries of golf around what can happen in any given tournament. I also think like the confidence that you talked about, Joseph, is really important. If you know your skills and you know that you're ready, you're not so worried about making a bogey. You're not worried about bogey kind of ruining your chances, because really you get to a point where you think you can birdie the next hole. It's like no problem, right? So you're not getting wigged out by, somebody going on a run early, thinking like, oh, this thing is over, or I just made a really dumb bogey, my chances are ruined. Like you're able to sort of refocus and reframe. I've seen that and observed that quite a bit this year with some of these golfers that are in contention. And I know, Andrew, like you've got a ton of W's this year in addition to a bunch last year, but like it must be really rewarding to see these players develop and then get in the position to win, but then also be able to close it out. So is it sort of learning to win? Is it just sort of like this is the natural progression of things? Is it somewhere on that spectrum?
I mean, I definitely think, and we've talked about this before, like the leveling up, like winning at the medalist level, like and then, the first 2-day events. And then you kind of start to realize as you get into these bigger and bigger events, like I can do this here too. And then you eventually do. No, but I wouldn't say that like Xander, I think Xander's an interesting case study. I don't think he won in college. I don't really think he won in pro golf until he like won on the PGA Tour. So I don't think you necessarily quote unquote have to like prove it to yourself before you're like able to do it. Like if you put yourself in that situation enough, just kind of like you just said, like it's likely going to happen. And I think what's going on lately with these kids that I coach is like, yeah, you can look that they won, but I mean, they're playing good a majority of the weeks that they're playing. And so I think it's impressive that they're winning, but I'm almost as impressed of like the consistency of how they show up and finish in like the top 5 or the top 10 of things. And yeah, they're eventually going to win one. It just so happens that they are winning like the biggest events possible in junior golf, like every 2 weeks. I think that's a little awesome and fluky. Like I was telling someone, I was like, I don't know if I could have like as good of a year with the clients that I've had like this year. It's crazy. I mean, it literally is crazy what's happening. But that's all credit to them, and that their skills are so good across the board and consistent that they're just likely going to be around a lot, more than the other kids. Cause I just think they're maybe it's a little bit more like polished in all those areas. So, and that's the whole point. Like when I was just having this conversation with Matthias of like, that's how you coach junior golf, is like you make sure all of these skills, like it doesn't do a whole lot of good to sit in that driving range and just like watch them hit balls. Like they have to be able to do everything. And so, yeah, I see that like clearly, like is why these kids are doing well.
Yeah, that's really, it is really exciting to see and really rewarding, I think, to see the kids and the opportunities that are coming out of that. We just saw Reese Roberts win and Charles, we mentioned in an earlier episode, just like the opportunities that they have, where it just seems like the writing's on the wall. Like they're going to get to college and they're going to be contributing and they're going to be contending and winning. They're going to make a mark on the programs that they're going to.
They definitely will, because that golf ball, I mean, I say this all the time, that golf ball doesn't know who you are, doesn't know your reputation. All it knows is what it's being told. And these guys are really good at telling that ball what to do. I mean, Reese just shot 19 under. Like if there was a PGA Tour event there, he probably would have finished in the top 10. Against PGA Tour players, like it doesn't matter. I mean, we've talked about that stuff with Miles Russell and stuff that Blades has done, stuff Luke's doing. It's incredibly exciting. These kids are so good. It is really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a super exciting time. I did want to pivot a little bit, because one of the things we talked about in the qualifier episode, we talked about trying the qualifiers and getting something out of it, even no matter what you shoot. And there was a gentleman that shot 81 in a US Open qualifier that caught a little bit of a heat, like in some social media circles, like why has he entered this US Open qualifier? We defended him. His name, Charlie Woods,
Chuck,
who just qualified for the US Junior. I think we're all going, right? So we're going to see him at Oakland Hills.
I think I'm going, yeah.
At the end of July. So one of the things we talked about, I'm going to pull it up and we'll post it or whatever, was that like being in that qualifier and the experience can only help you down the road. And we're seeing it pay off already. So I think he had started off double bogey. He was 3 over after 2, went on a little bit of a run, and he won. He was the only person under par in his qualifier, got the medalist. And I don't know, this is the year that his dad won the first of his 3 U.S. juniors, and he's got a chance. So he's going to be there. Shout out to Charlie. Yeah, he's going to be there.
He's going to be there.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great point. And when we did talk about, we definitely said that because it might have just been like a mindset thing of like, he's like, the next time I go into that, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z differently. It is a little weird that he started so bad, but guns ablazing, he came out and found a way to get to -1. But maybe, we talked about like knowing the number in your head. Like maybe he knew the golf course was hard. He's like, if I can just get back to even, which even I think got through, know, so that's kind of like that does go back a little bit to like the qualifier mindset.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we'll maybe we can get Tiger on as a guest
I think we could.
Get some
maybe they'll play each other. Shout out to Brooks Harper for also making it to the U.S. Junior. Oh, yeah, he Canada.
Overshadowed the medalist on the same day that Charlie did it, right?
That's right. Yeah, just a little later.
Brooks Harper. So yeah, you got your stable. Your stable is headed north up to Michigan.
That's right.
End of July. So we're super excited for that. Hopefully, we're going to continue rolling this train down the tracks as we get into this volume 3 of Angle of Attack. Last time we ended at 76 to 74. So we're going to start getting into 74 to 72, and then a little bit into 72 down to 70. And this is getting more and more exciting. So hopefully people are getting a lot out of this. But for now, shout out to Charlie Woods, and hope you enjoy this interview with Matthias Tayala.
A little bit of context. Matthias and I really don't know each other, but we started following each other on social media. You have a much bigger following than I do and that this podcast does, but I'm really intrigued by you. We've probably been following each other for like 6 weeks, maybe 2 months.
Yep.
And you definitely have like a niche and a delivery and content that totally appeals to like the majority of golfers. And so we'll definitely dive into that. But man, just to kind of, for me to get to know you and for our audience to get to know you. So our audience is a lot of junior golfers, parents of junior golfers, people that are trying to improve, like just like you are. I know you have aspirations of like trying to play competitively. So, one, give me a little bit of background of just, I know you played, I think you played collegiate sports, right? Like you played not golf, track and field, right? So, how did that kind of come about? What was your background in sports? And then like, how did you kind of come to golf? Like, how did you choose that you were going to go down this route?
Well, so in high school, I did like football, basketball, and track and field. And the goal was to play football in college. So I actually transferred to a private school, played football, and track and basketball didn't really go like that well. So I ended up transferring back to my school, and then ended up track excelled. So I went to college for track and field. Never really golfed.
Like, what are we doing? Are we shot putting or like?
So yeah, the hammer throw, discus.
Hammer throw. That's what it is. Hammer throw. Yeah.
So those were my 2 main events. I did a little bit of shot put, but I wasn't that good. And so track, didn't really golf throughout high school. Maybe like a couple times a year I'd golf a little bit.
And you grew up in the north, right?
Northeast Ohio, Smallville, McDonald, Ohio. It's very small. And went to Kent State for college, but never really golfed. Okay. So track and field, excelled, went to Kent State for track, ended up winning a national championship in 2014, and got runner-up in 2015, then trained for the Olympics in 2016. But I ended up tearing my labrum and got hip surgery about a month after the Olympic trials. Didn't make the Olympics. And after that, I tried training a little bit more for the hammer, but my hip just was not having it. So that's kind of when golf came in, because I wanted to do something, competitive. Like I wanted to be in sports, and came up with golf, my friend's golf. So ended up golfing. This is probably like 2018, 2019, started golfing. And then I started like the Instagram channel just as like kind of like a joke, you know, just to post some like random golf content. And like some of my friends would post like different videos. They send me videos and I'd post it. And it kind of just like excelled from there, just like grew from there into like my own content for the most part. So it started like random content and then into my own content. And now it's like a mixture of both. But yeah, it was mainly track and field, and then golf kind of just popped in because I wanted to do something sports related, and it was a little bit easier on my hips than what I did
That's
before.
funny that, so I grew up playing baseball, and I tore my labrum, and that was what did me in. And that's why, right here. I mean, I got, okay. Oh, okay. Labrum. Okay. And that's kind of what like forced me, not forced, but like, that's what led me to golf. I mean, I played a little bit as a kid. Once I had my injury, same mindset. I was like, I want to stay in golf. Really not very good at school. I don't like school. Kids, do good in school. I'm not saying that. But so that's kind of funny, that parallel. So you started playing golf. Like how did that come about? Did you start taking lessons? Did you go straight to YouTube? Check out my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've never actually taken a lesson before, which that is my one goal this year.
You and Bubba Watson.
Yeah, well, I'm not that good, but no,
not yet.
For getting lessons, because I know for a fact that's what's going to help me get to that next level of like golf. So that's my next, find a coach around here and find someone to help me with my swing because it needs it. So
what level are we playing at currently? You go out and play. Are you breaking 80?
Yeah, I'm probably like mid 70s, like low 80s. That's where I'm at right now. Yeah. So mid 70s.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm a coach. So I would always advocate, having a coach is good. But I also think I didn't take a lot of lessons like before I became a coach. I feel like I was fairly self-taught. I learned a lot from like playing with other people. So how would you say like you've gathered the skills that you have to be able to be someone? I mean, let's face it, most people don't ever break 90, like most recreational golfers. So how did you, with having no golf background, obviously you probably hit it pretty far because of all your training is like the hammer throw motion's not that different probably than the sequencing of a golf swing. Like how did you get the skills that you have? Like, is it just trial and error?
For the most part, yeah. Like I like to watch YouTube videos. I'm a big visual learner, so I try to like take pieces from different people online and see what they do and try to mimic their swing for the most part. But pretty much YouTube, I guess, for everything that I've learned so far.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you've been doing, so you're 6 years in. What would be, so we talked a little bit earlier. You said that you would like to start kind of getting into competitive golf. Like what would be some things you would hope? Have you ever played a tournament, even like at the club that you're at?
No, never done anything competitively yet. Not yet. But that's the funny thing. I feel like I would play. I feel like I'd play better if I would play in some type of competitive golf because I'm a big competitor, love like competing. And like anytime I golf, like most of my friends that golf, they just golf for fun. They don't really golf like to be good. They have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
They just golf, have fun. And I'm the guy who like, I want to get better. I want to be really good. So I'm always practicing, always doing things to try to get better. And obviously I have the Instagram thing where I'm trying to post good videos, good content, good swings. So I don't really golf. I golf with a couple people that are pretty good, but like, I feel like if I golf with some people that were like, below par, like really good golfers, it would help me improve even more. But I just haven't.
Yeah. Plus that would probably reveal to you, let's say that you're a, 78 to 80 shooter.
Yeah.
When you play with someone who shoots 70 to 72, like many times you'll get done, you'll go, I don't feel like they're that much better than me. But yet really? They beat you like, it happens all the time. But they wax you. They beat you by like 6 or 8 shots. It's because of these like little nuanced things of like a bunker shot or judging a lie out of the rough or distance wedges, like 50 yarders, kind of like the things that people don't tend to practice quite as much. Yeah. So I would agree with you that I think when people play with better players, they usually kind of level up because they start to kind of see, these are the areas versus vice versa. If you play with someone who shoots like 90 I don't think it reveals much about your game.
No.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have plans to play competitively? Is that one of the, you're going to make that happen this year? Does Northeast Ohio have options?
They do. I really haven't looked too much into it. I feel like I'm not at that point yet.
You're not there yet.
I don't think so. I think I need to get some lessons, get more consistent. I think I'm close. I'm closer than I've ever been, but I think once I'm consistently like in the low 70s, I feel like then I would kind of look for somewhere to play, but I don't think I'm there yet.
So let's dive into your content a little bit. So, one, because I'm curious, like, how did you grow it? So you have like 130 something thousand followers on Instagram. I would say that the stuff that you post is definitely like for the masses. It's definitely on the basic side of like anyone can go and do this. It's user friendly. So like, tell me a little bit about how you came up with that strategy and like why you chose to kind of go that route. Cause I mean, obviously you see stuff that's kind of complicated on Instagram. Like, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but there's some stuff that's like, man, that it's intriguing, but it's also like, it seems like if I do that, it might mess me up a little bit. So yeah, fill me in a little bit on just your ideology a little bit.
No, I think keeping it as simple as possible and focusing on like the most simple movements of the golf swing, especially for me, because I'm no expert like you. Like I really don't like, I think I know a little bit, but I'm nowhere close to like your level or any coach's level. So I'm not trying to like coach people. I'm just trying to show like what I'm doing, you know, in my swing, what helps me with my swing, different drills that really have been helping me overall. So I think doing that has really grown my channel because obviously a lot of people need simple drills or simple things to fix their swing or like simple fixes, I guess, where they're not sitting at the range for, 5 hours a day for 5 days a week. They're able to go hit a few balls at the range and then go golf. And they maybe do a couple of drills that I show and it helps them. So I think is the
feedback that the stuff that you give to people is the feedback that it generally is helping them?
For the most part, yeah. I honestly, it's crazy because I see a lot of other golf channels that are kind of similar to me. I feel like my followers are very on my side with a lot of different things that I post. Like I rarely have, like, I guess you call it like haters on my site. Like it's pretty rare.
I have the haters.
Yeah, it's rare.
On the YouTube, I have the haters a little bit.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, a little bit.
The better
I think YouTube, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel
people
like TikTok,
like to say
YouTube,
stuff.
you probably have a lot more of that. But for the most part on Instagram, it's been a very good. They've received my content very well. So
yeah, the thing that I've noticed about your content, which I think the takeaway is that one, you gamify a lot of what you do. Like it's not like you're just sitting there on the range. Like you posted a video today, I think, where you're doing like a driving task. I actually just made a video very similar where you're not just hitting balls in the range, but you're trying to hit like 8 out of 10 within that window. You posted one the other day where you had like 5 or 6 balls and you were chipping and you were talking about like trying to get X amount up and down or X amount inside of 10 feet. And so I think the message that I totally agree with you and that is somewhat overlooked in golf coaching is that we need to make golf practice as much like golf as we can, and less looking like we're just hitting on the driving range, because the driving range is nothing like golf. But a lot of the stuff that you post is very similar to golf. Plus, you post a lot of stuff when you're on the golf course.
Yeah, I try to. And honestly, I feel like I transferred a lot of stuff that I did in like the hammer throw in college, where you throw a lot, but there's a lot of different things that you can do that helps your overall throw, but that you're not really throwing the hammer. You know what I mean? So like doing multiple turns, different like relatable things like target practice, like not trying to throw it as far as you can. So like in golf, if you hit your 8-iron, like 165, whatever, you try to hit it like 140 or 145 and try to get consistent with that, or try to get consistent at 150, like different things like that help me in track. I'm doing that in golf, and it's been helping me a little bit in golf too. So I think that's helped a lot.
So the other thing about your channel that's fun is that you definitely recognize how hard golf is and you definitely lean into that. A lot of your videos are very funny. Actually, one of your videos was really like touching, talking about like how many, and you're hitting like all these terrible shots, but every once in a while you'd hit one good. And it was just like this, like golf is really, really hard. And I think that you lean into that, and that gives everybody some hope that like it's okay when you hit bad shots. So yeah,
for sure.
I'm sure that you like recognize how hard golf is.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people they're way too hard on themselves when they hit a bad shot, where like they don't realize like sometimes like even their bad shot is like actually pretty good, and
yeah,
like they don't take that in perspective where like, oh, that was actually not that bad, but they get so hard on themselves and they hit 2 more bad shots after that, you know? So it's having that one shot that they think it's bad lead into 2 more bad shots where like it really wasn't that bad to begin with, and it leads to not good things. But yeah, I think a lot of people like that too. So
do you think that that's kind of helped your ability to like lower scores, is more understand the expectation that you are going to, I mean, you're someone who shoots around an 80 sometimes. So that means let's say I make 2 birdies around. That means I'm 10 over on those other 16 holes. Like, has that seemed like it's helped you the more that you've realized that you're going to hit bad shots, that it kind of is easier to let go of things like that?
Oh, for sure. Like I really don't get that emotional because I know how hard it is and how much time you have to put in to be good. And even at, like where I'm at, I put a good amount of time in, but I know for you to be really good at golf, it's almost has to be like a full-time job, you know, to be really good at golf, and to be shooting in the I don't know, low 70s, mid 60s, upper 60s. Like you have to be treating it like it's your job pretty much. And I'm not there yet, I guess, you know, so I maybe play every day for the most part, but I'll hit maybe an hour at the range and be done, where, you know, that's not enough to be really good.
So how much time are you having to devote to your socials? Like, is this an everyday, hours a day?
No, it depends. Like I try to at least hit the range at least 5 times a week. Like for whether that's like going to chip and putt for a little bit, or, you know, hit a bucket of balls. Like I try to at least get on the range at least 1 time a day. But for playing actual golf, maybe like once or twice a week, I guess right now, which is.
And are you generally trying to create content basically the whole time? Are you ever able to just kind of go out and enjoy it, not be doing that?
That's another thing. Like I feel like I would play a lot better if I wasn't filming. I literally film every shot, everything that I do. It's all myself. Like I film with my phone every shot that I do. At the range, I try to film a lot of content. I do a little bit more where I don't film as much on the range, which I think helps a little bit. But when I'm on the course, I film everything. So maybe. And
the editing is way more than the filming.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
The editing is such a beating.
It's rough. It's just like we actually played a scramble last Saturday, and I filmed everyone's shot, mine and 3 other guys. And I got home and I'm like,
oh my gosh, that had to take forever.
This is going to take so long. I haven't touched it yet, but it's going to be a long process. Especially,
didn't it take forever just to like play and video every shot?
Well, videoing on the course is not that. I have like
Is it not that bad?
No, I just put it behind us and just press the record and like I forget about it. So that's not that bad. But putting a shot tracer on 4 shots, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I'm dreading doing that post because I was gonna make out of it, but I've not got there yet. I need an editor for sure.
Oh my! You should have an editor.
I know. Well, it's hard to find someone like to. I don't know. It's tough because you don't know. It's hard to explain exactly what you want. You know?
Yeah, I have the same thumb. Like, how am I gonna dictate to this person exactly what I want this to look like? The other day I was filming something at Sherrill Park, and I holed out. I made the shot.
Oh,
like, yeah. It didn't even like touch the ground. It flew into the hole from 140 yards.
On
so I was like, man, I got to go on a par 4. But I was doing a worst ball scramble, so it didn't count. So I go home. I was like, man, I got to buy the Shot Tracer app or the Shot Tracer desktop version. And I immediately did that but yeah, I mean, this whole world of, so what have you learned about social media and the benefits of it, the negatives of it, how much time it takes? Like what, you're in a pretty unique spot with all of this. So I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts on all of it? I do encourage most of my kids to have social media accounts to kind of promote themselves, like to colleges and things like that. So I mean, I'm sure you can speak pretty highly to like what the value of all of this stuff is and maybe the negatives.
Well, it can be very, very lucrative if you take advantage of, I guess, like brand deals and stuff like that. It can help like push you further up the ladder with like content. But it's tough because like you don't want to take away from your golf game, focusing on creating content and more content and less on your golf game, you know? So it's a tough situation. Like if I was young, you know, in high school or trying to get to college, like it would be a tough balance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was in high school thinking about track, like, I don't know how that would have worked if I was trying to just like make content instead of like focusing on improving my, you know, throws and whatnot. So that's tough, but yeah, I mean, it's been good. You know, it's a big learning process for me, even now, like where I want to go from here, you know,
where do you see that going?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I want to get into long form content, but like we talked about, like editing, it takes so much time and I'm not that good at it. I'm learning, but like for you to make a YouTube video, like, you know, like to make a 10 minute YouTube video, it takes hours, like depending on what you're doing, you know,
if it's good. Yes. Yeah.
Like there's so much in like making the thumbnail and doing the editing of like the shot tracer on all your shots and doing different things like subtitle or captions. And it's a lot, but that's kind of where we're at right now is where I want to go from here. Do I want to just like stay where I'm at and just continue doing what I'm doing? Or do I want to take it to the next level and, you know, get into YouTube, get into like that kind of thing? And so we'll see where it goes from here.
You know, my thinking with all the stuff I'm doing is because, you know, I can only see so many people, right?
Yeah.
And I do desire to just kind of help people and help them understand, like, what am I doing relative to what everyone else is doing? I think that may have been like what maybe attracted you to like watch my stuff. Is like, man, I really like the message that he's saying. So one, it's a way to advertise myself, to help people. So yeah, I have been definitely recording more stuff in session just to kind of give some insight into that. But, you know, you want to be careful too, because a lot of the stuff is somewhat specific. So I tend to post stuff that is kind of like yours, like it's going to fit a lot of people. Yeah. Like the problem I have with golf instructors is like take like flexion, like my lead wrist has to be flexed. Well, yeah, maybe it does. If you give some kid with a strong grip and he already has a tendency to hit it left and you tell them to add some flexion, like he's going to hit it off the planet left. So I really haven't done anything like that. Even those are like quick hit, you know, popular things. Like that is not like the goal of what that stuff should be. So you know, and like all the hot topics, like, yeah, they're hot topics, but they're just kind of clickbait to me a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Like golf grip, it's crazy how, like, honestly, if I made a golf grip video of just like my hands on the golf club, it's automatic, like 100K views, like every time.
That's so dumb.
It's so weird. Like I don't even have to say anything. It's just, if you show your hands on a golf club, it's like the easiest views like you can get, right? It's crazy.
I still haven't figured out like the right mix of all that. But yeah, I 100% agree with you that, yeah, I've got to keep the content applicable to a large audience. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, well, that's
for sure.
Well.
I did a video the other day where I like drew a line on a golf ball. Like I hand draw lines. Like I don't use like the tool.
Oh, okay.
And it like went, people love stuff like that. Like, why do people like that versus like some really, really good
like 1 minute video of like me giving a lesson, like this is gold. It's like 10 views or something. That's ridiculous.
It is very weird, like what goes viral and what doesn't. It's very weird.
So when would you say like that took off for you? And what would you even say like taken off is?
I want to say like probably like a year and a half ago, I went from like 50K followers and I posted like 2 videos. I can't even remember what the videos were. They weren't anything crazy. It's just like maybe some type of like driver drill or something. And maybe like it was probably a grip video. So I think it was a driving drill.
I got to do more grip videos.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
It was insane. But I went from like 50K to like 75K within like a month. And it was mainly from 2 videos. Like it was insane. But ever since then, like I was like, oh shoot, like maybe I should post more stuff like that. And I just like kind of stayed in that niche a little bit, like with some like simple golf drills and grip videos. And it just like kept going up and up and up. And I mean, at this point, like you asked, like, what would you think would be like big, I guess, like a big video? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, well, today I posted some, like just a basic meme. You've probably seen that one TikTok girl that was, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't talk about it, but it was just like a funny, it was like
probably
video,
not
like a funny meme video. And like that video is already over 200K views in like 6 hours. Like it's insane. But I feel like anything over like 150K would be like very good at this point. And then I'll have like a random outlier with like 1 million views like once a week or something. But
you definitely should move into the YouTube space. I mean, you would definitely be good at it.
Yeah, it's just editing is not my thing.
I know it's the time.
Yeah,
it's the time. But I mean, so you know, I think with you, I mean, you're already on multiple platforms. I think the thing I like about doing the YouTube stuff is the long form. Is being able to do like a 10 or 15 minute video and really like dive into things and really give a little bit more perspective. Like these 30 and 45 second. I mean, mainly what I post on Instagram is just kind of like swings and wins and things like that. Yeah. You know, just to kind of highlight, again, going back to like the junior golf thing. Like I'm always trying to highlight those guys. You know, you're not allowed to talk to a junior. A college coach is not allowed to talk to a junior until basically right now of their junior year. And so I think one of my roles is to like when they're doing well or they have good swings is to kind of highlight them because that does create like perception and interest. So, but I haven't done a lot of, that's why I kind of started doing the YouTube thing was to kind of put myself in front of the camera. I mean, that does take a lot of, to a degree, like a lot of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And like, you know, posting yourself hitting bad shots or talking a lot or, just being on camera in general, like is a skill. Like, have you noticed that you've gotten kind of better at your performance to a degree?
Kind of. I feel kind of. I got a lot to work on. The biggest thing with me is I know I'm not an expert in golf, so it's hard for me to really like go out there and like try to tell people exactly what to do because I don't know. Like if it was about track and field, like hammer throw, no issues. Like I'd be able to coach anyone, like tell anyone what to do. But golf, I'm still such a novice. Like I don't know enough about it to feel like I can go out there. Like you asked about coaching, like I couldn't really coach someone. I mean, I'm just posting like what's been helping me. Like I said earlier, like
I think you're selling yourself short.
I think
you're selling yourself short. I think you could because there's just an epidemic, and we can get into this. There's an epidemic in golf coaching of thinking that knowledge makes you good at coaching golf. If I know more about a golf swing, I'm going to be a better golf coach than this guy. And it's absolutely not true. I don't see that. The coaches that I know that quote unquote know a lot about coaching or a lot about the golf swing do not produce necessarily good players. What produces good players is someone who coaches all the skills, right? So putting, chipping, bunkers, driving, ball striking, distance wedges, on course, tournament prep. Like those are the kind of things that
really form a junior into like this molded character that can go and play like high level golf. It's not like sitting there on the driving range, you know, and hitting balls and looking at every swing on camera. So
Yeah.
I do think that the way that you've coached yourself to become a fairly sufficient player, you actually could probably coach someone, and maybe that would be an interesting project for the YouTube or the Gram, is to take a high school kid who can't break 90. I'm sure they're around the course, and be like, hey, I'm gonna coach you and help you as best I can, and that would be very interesting. I bet you could do it.
That would be cool. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to mess them up, that's for sure. So I don't know. I would like to try. I think that's another thing I would love to do in the future is, you know, sponsor or give like scholarships to a golfer who wants to play in college. I think that'd be something cool from my channel, you know, sponsor.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that world, yeah. I mean, that world of heading into college golf. I mean, even junior golf. I mean, the amount of money that junior golf costs.
Yeah, it's
crazy. I mean,
it's crazy.
Well, we don't have to pay for a ton of. Obviously, my son doesn't have to pay for lessons, and you know, we get discounted clubs. But I mean, we probably spend on average $1,000 a month on golf, on average.
Yeah,
and that would be pretty light down here.
Oh yeah,
I would say the average family's probably spending 25 to 30 grand per kid just to play golf. Yeah,
that's a lot.
So even like finding a junior and like even helping them play junior golf.
Yeah.
I mean, college golf too would be great.
Yeah.
Because it is expensive. So
definitely. So
yeah. Do you have juniors at the course that you play at?
Yeah, there's a few. I don't know any of them personally, but yeah, there's a few. They actually just had like a junior golf like a tournament at the one course by me, and I saw a few kids there. It's crazy how good they are. You know, this is.
Oh, it's insane, and how early they can be. Like how early they can be this good.
They hit the ball so far. It's like
they hit it far. Their skills are good.
Yeah.
So you say that you can't coach, but I know that you wrote. I think you wrote a book. Right?
So
a challenge book.
Yeah. So
obviously you have some knowledge of like how to help someone improve, or else you wouldn't have written a book. Well, so tell me about the book a little bit.
The book's actually different than what you think. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the Adventure Challenge book. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not. No.
So it's pretty much like there's different things to do on the book. Here's the book actually right here. So inside the book, there's different challenges per se that you do, mostly on the course. I think pretty much all of them are on the course, but you pretty much scratch off. It's like a scratch off challenge book. So you open the book up and you do whatever you want. But so this is like equipment challenges, and you'll scratch off the challenge itself, and then it'll tell you exactly what to do. So for example, I got one scratched off in here. Let's see. So here's one. There's a course challenge, and you scratch it off, and it's
okay. So you literally like scratch off with like a coin or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay.
You scratch it off. This is a front tee challenge, and
front tees.
Like, play from the front tees, which like you normally would never do, but it's just different things that like get you to, you know, do different things on the course. And maybe there's like a challenge where you don't use your driver in a round of golf or something, you know, so you're testing yourself, and you're pretty much gaining more skills by doing different things on the course.
That's coaching right there.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, there's 30 challenges in there. It's pretty cool. A lot of people have said already that they liked it a lot. It just came out last week. So.
Oh, nice. It just came out.
Yeah, literally.
I think, again, going back to this gamification, right? You're not necessarily telling someone what to do. You're not necessarily correcting them. Mm-hmm. But when you tell someone to go play from the front tees, and let's say that they go shoot the same score that they normally would, right? Yeah. They normally shoot 90. They play the front tees. You would think in most cases that someone would go play the front tees and they would shoot lower. But let's say they don't. That's probably going to reveal to them that their short game and putting are trash, and that's probably where they should go practice. So like A lot of coaching is like revealing things to people, because you're not going to change someone's life in like an hour session. Like you're trying to reveal things to them over the weeks and weeks and weeks of them being by themselves. So that is a really cool thing about that book, because it's probably like giving them layers and layers of things to do that should reveal things, which ultimately good players are good self-coaches. I mean, that's what you are, right? Like you're learning to be a self-coach to yourself. And then you're taking those same principles that you used to kind of help other people. Like when you played the front tees, I'm sure you got some value. That was the whole point of my worst ball scramble video.
Yeah.
Is the amount of, like the amount of things that someone can learn from doing a worst ball scramble is incredible without me having to tell them, without you having to tell them. They don't need a coach to tell them. They'll probably be able to reveal those things themselves. So that's super cool. Have you been selling a ton of them?
Yeah. It's gone really well. And actually, I've stocked them at a few courses near me. And so they have them at their courses. So people walk in and they see it and they're like, oh, what's that? And it's been doing well.
Oh, that's really, really cool. Yeah. What gave you that idea? I mean, have you done that before? Was that just off the cuff, or?
Yeah, it was pretty much like I was trying to do something, and I had like a free ebook that I came out with a year ago, and that did really well. And I was trying to think like how I could help, my followers and different people get better at golf. And I know this would definitely help them. And it's not really like a book like you would think, it's more of like you're challenging yourself on the golf course, doing different things like worst ball, best ball, like different things like that you normally just really wouldn't do, but this gives you that option to do those different things and improve with that. So
that's amazing. That's awesome. That honestly, I'm not even kidding. Like that really is a lot of coaching, especially like group training. Like I do a lot of group training with kids, and you're always basically creating challenges. I mean, you really are trying to put them in a competitive, stressful environment that kind of simulates what a tournament or competitive experience would be like. I mean, you always hear coaches say, practice should be harder than like the game, right? Yeah. So I think in those kind of ways, the things you're describing, like that's an example of potentially making practice harder than the game. Back to that example of when you were doing that driving test, the 8 out of 10, like that's hard. Like that's a very, very difficult thing to do. I don't know how many takes that took you.
Yeah.
But it's like
that was actually the end of my range session. And I've been trying to fix my driver swing because I just can't seem to find a fairway. I'm like literally scrambling every single hole, and I'm shooting these like decent scores for me. And I'm like, if I could just get in the fairway, I would play so much better. And that's kind of where that came in. And I've been like trying to do different things with my grip. And yesterday, like, I think I figured something out with my driver, and I was like, I'm going to shots. And it was actually the end of my session. It was 10 shots, 10, literally one take. And I don't know if I'd be able to do it again.
But what a baller.
Yeah.
Well, you got to do it again. That's the whole point. You got to do it again.
I know. And that's.
Are you over fader? A little bit of a cut? Just like your shots a lot of times are.
Yeah.
Maybe
right now.
Pulls and cuts.
Yeah. Right now it's more. Yep. Exactly what that is. Like where before it was like I would try to play a draw so much, and I kept watching like the pros play. I'm like, seems like they don't really draw the ball. Like I might be wrong, but it doesn't seem like they.
No, I mean, a lot of them don't. Now, keep going. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I just felt like, if they're not drawing it, why would I try to keep drawing the ball? Like I just felt like I was overdoing it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna play this shot shape and see if it helps me, and it's actually been helping me. That with like my transition, that's a whole nother question, but my transition's been like so quick, and I've been like pause at the top a little bit, and that seems to help a little
Hideki.
Yeah, so that and the mixture of my golf grip has been helping a little bit, but yeah, so that's kind of my thought.
Yeah, I mean, guys on TV definitely, you see a lot of them hit a fade, but I would say at the speeds that they swing, it's very, very hard to hit it straight or to draw it. But there are guys that do draw it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. with a lot of the kids I coach, I definitely like prefer for them to hit a draw mainly because of like distance.
Oh, really?
Plus a lot of people that eventually like when they hit a fade okay for a minute, and then over time it just gets kind of excessive. So like managing the fade. I actually saw this video the other day. I think maybe Golf Magazine or Golf Digest did it. It was about Wyndham Clark. I mean, no one on tour probably hits a bigger cut than Wyndham. I remember at the Ryder Cup on 18, like this downslope lie, like 3 days in a row, he's like 100 yards right with like a 5-iron, huge rights, which downslope lies would generally like cause more cuts.
Yeah.
So he's on the range, like trying to hit. He's like hits off a tee, like trying to like hook it because he's like, I know that I'm not really going to do that. My swing gets more and more left as I play, and I see that with good players is if they hit a cut, they eventually just start hitting it bad. So I generally try to get people to hit it fairly safe to slight draw. And if they want to hit fades, they can always go hit a fade. But if that becomes too predominant, you may notice like I start pulling it or like overcutting it. Because that's kind of what like managing your golf game is like, it doesn't matter that it's good for a day. It needs to be good for like weeks and weeks, or, you know, in the competitive setting, you need to be good for like a stretch of time, whether that's an event or like 3 events, 4 events. So, you know, in my world, these kids are incredibly good. So it's not about their good shots. It's like, what's the problem with your bad shots and how do we solve that? Because I don't really care that their good shots are always going to be good. What I notice is the kids that are, everybody can play good, but the kids that are really good tend to play good a little bit more often. Yeah. And I would say it's from kind of like discussions like this that we're having. So yeah, I would maybe get it straightened out if it starts overcutting. But the fade is easier to control for sure, I think, than the draw for most people.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm trying. It's still, I'm still outside.
Well, you know, and if you do go down the road of lessons, you know, I think my one caution, because we were talking about it earlier, like if you go take lessons, my one caution to you would be like a lot of coaches try to put you in their mold. You know, so like if you go see XYZ coach and he wants you to hit a draw, but I want to hit a cut. Yeah. It's like, no, you need to hit a draw. And so I think another characteristic of good players is like, it takes a lot of convincing to change them. So don't, just because like you would see someone as an authority, like a PGA member or something like that, or someone who like coaches good players. Like at the end of the day, you're the one that has to hit the shot.
Yeah.
I don't have to hit it. So if you want to hit a cut, then hit a cut, and that guy can help you maybe hit a more effective cut. Like I think in golf, like someone's going to video your swing and put you on TrackMan. They're going to go, well, this is everything that's wrong with your swing. You're like, but I just shot the best round of my life yesterday. So it's like, you know, like it's easy for golf coaches to like kind of throw that all aside because they just look at you as like this project.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be a hard thing for me too. I feel like when I go to a coach, because I just don't know enough about it to where like anything they say, I'm going to.
It's going to sound like they're an expert.
Yeah. Honestly. So it's going to be very hard.
Here's your barometer, and you have to be really, really honest. If you leave hitting in the lesson, if you leave hitting it worse, then they did a bad job. And if you leave not hitting a driver, they did a bad job.
Oh, yeah?
Oh my gosh, the amount of lessons where people hit like a pitching wedge only or an 8-iron only, or you don't do a full swing. Those are ridiculous lessons in most cases, especially with a recreational player. I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone take a lesson and they're like, yeah, we hit 8-iron for an hour. And I didn't ask because I didn't want to ask, like, is this the same thing with my driver? And then of course you go and hit your driver and it's like terrible. So yeah, my advice is for people who are taking lessons is it should be holistic. You should be doing everything. Like it's not just full swing, but not obviously in an hour, but like you should go through the bag. Yeah, you should definitely go through the bag because you probably don't like slice your 8-iron on occasion like you might your driver, right? It's probably a little bit different. So
right,
yeah. You should definitely leave hitting it better.
Okay.
So, all right. And not necessarily like your swing has to like look 1,000 times better. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, there's like 3 different guys in my area that are like supposed to be like the top coaches in Ohio. So,
well, tell them to listen to the pod.
Yes,
and tell them Andrew said this. He has a pretty good track record with having people leave the lesson hitting well and winning events, very, very big events these days. So
that's crazy. That's so
I would. It is super cool. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a good year in the competitive setting. It's a little shocking, but it's been good. So
yeah, good for you.
Well, man, it's just been a fun conversation. I'm glad I got to know you. You're super cool on the socials. So how can people like follow you? Like, what would be the easiest way and best way to follow you?
Honestly, just on Instagram. This is Golf Pro Wannabes on Instagram. I'm on TikTok too, but yeah, Golf
Same
Pro,
thing. Golf Pro Wannabes.
Yeah, is all YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So
okay, awesome. And then link to the book on your Instagram.
Yeah, so yeah, that link is in my bio, and I post different links of it wherever, but the easiest way to find is link on Instagram in my bio.
Okay, cool. Well, people should definitely check that out. Check you out. You're awesome. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate your time. And yeah, we'll check in soon. And good luck with your getting down to 72. And again, short leash with the coach.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm playing in the morning, so hopefully I can play good. So we'll see.
The Driven Golf Podcast is produced by Joseph K. If you like this episode, like it, subscribe, pass it on to a friend who might be interested. It really helps us out a lot. We'll be back in a couple weeks with the next episode. Until then, remember, in this great game, the journey is the gift. Enjoy the journey.
Yo, check it out. Check it out. Yo, in the latest Driven Golf Pod, stories manifest. Andrew Matthias Tayala, a tale that's truly blessed. From hammer throws to golf swings, excellence compressed. Voice through the speakers with fortitudes expressed. Grew up in Mackey, Ohio, this Ohioan climber being higher. Excelled in football and track, talents intertwined. Hammer throws, ball was clear, gridiron left behind. Kent State's Golden Eagle, where his skills shine. National champion 14, runner-up next year. Taurus lab of hip surgery, future unclear. Explored golf decision, a new passion to steer. From hammer's explosive power to the fairway's frontier. What's up, golf friends? One you gotta follow. From the hammer through the golf, a true shot caller. Driven Golf Pod, this story's going viral. The rise of a champion, Tayala straight fire. Tayala's golf journey, more than just a game. Golf Pro Wannabes started like the light, ignite the flame. Humor, practical advice, his rise is insane. 130 large, in charge to worldwide acclaim. Tayala's climb relentless, pursuit of excellence. Daily routines, intense his drive immense. Practice ground ups and downs, drills with finesse. Training for long run success, his destinies manifest. What's up, golf friends? One you gotta follow. From the hammer throw to golf, a true shot caller. Driven Golf Pod, this story's going viral. The rise of a champion, Tayala straight fire. What's up, golf friends? One you gotta follow. From the hammer throw to golf, a true shot caller. Driven Golf Pod, this story's going viral. The rise of a champion, Tayala straight fire.